Success transcends cities. As one of the world's most respected business leaders, I know what it takes. Join me now as I sit down with fellow leaders and we share our insights into how you can be successful. My name is Jeffrey Hayzlett, and this is All Business.
Listen, now's the time to really talk. We're going to be talking some eye candy. That's right. How to make us look a little bit better all the way around and everything else. You know, small businesses are the lifeblood of our economy. And today's guest is out to tell their stories. Jonathan Morris is the host of Self-Employed, a show that highlights unique businesses, currently on Magnolia Network and streaming on Discovery Plus. Jonathan knows a little bit about entrepreneurship himself. He's the owner of a barber shop and a boutique hotel in Fort Worth, Texas. Jonathan, welcome to All Business with Jeffrey Hayzlett.
Hey, Jeffrey, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Did you ever think that you were ever going to be a TV star, movie star, maybe someday? Maybe, who knows, right?
Absolutely not, man. Absolutely not, man. My dream growing up was to be an entrepreneur and to start my own businesses. And a couple of years ago, I got a tap on the shoulder saying, "Hey, do you want to be on TV?" And I said, "Well, that could be fun." So here we are. Now we've got a whole television show about entrepreneurship life, but it's been great. Didn't see it coming, but it's been a really, really cool experience.
We're going to get into that content a little bit later because you and I were talking about that right before the show, because content's king right now. Activation's queen. And of course, context is the kingdom, is what I like to say. But before we start talking about, I want to know about your business. Why a barbershop?
Barbershop. So I moved to Fort Worth, Texas in 2012. And when I moved here, I was looking for a barbershop. I was commuting to Dallas, which is about a 30-minute drive. And I was going to a barbershop there. One day, my barber that I was seeing raised his prices up pretty significantly. And I said, man, there's got to be a barbershop in Fort Worth where I live. And so I started looking around. I was working in the digital marketing space, right, for a small ad agency. And so my day-to-day world was helping brands essentially position themselves online. This is kind of still early social media days. And so day to day, that's what my world was. Meanwhile, I couldn't find a barbershop. And so started looking around, started asking people, where do you go to the barbershop? What do you like about it? What do you not like about it? And everybody that I talked to, Jeff, was just incredibly apathetic about their experience going to the barbershop here in Fort Worth. And at the same time, the city was growing rapidly. And I'm like, I cannot be the only person looking for a cool barbershop with a great vibe in a professional environment in the same way that I'm looking for that. And so decided, instead of waiting for it to appear, to just create that space in Fort Worth. And the community responded to the hypothesis that we needed something like that in Fort Worth. And it's been really, really cool to see it grow. And, essentially what we wanted to do was marry the digital age to this old school trade, a barbershop. And so we were able to do that back in 2014. We opened up Fort Worth Barber Shop, and we've been going and blowing since then.
It's a cool site. I can't wait to get down to Fort Worth and do it. I love the old school kind of barbershop vibe and feel. I know I love that in New York, and my barber there, David's Barbershop, right there on 28th Street. And so if you get a shout out, I'll give it to David. But they only got 4 chairs there, but it's a great vibe, great community, good people. And isn't that what small businesses are all about? Is like that, connect to the community and being your friend, your neighbor.
That's what I love, man. I love the way that small businesses, and particularly barbershops, have this way of creating community, right? It's a place where people can meet their neighbors, connect with their neighbors, and learn a little bit about what's going on in the city, and do it in an environment that is clean and comfortable, and really just kind of help you reset your week. That's what I was looking for in a barbershop. And so we just hit the right place at the right time. And it's been a really great experience.
All right. So you were doing all this digital stuff. Then you started a barbershop, which I don't think you knew a lot about other than you want to be a real good customer, right? But solving a need, which is what entrepreneurs do. And now a boutique hotel. So tell me the connection there.
Man, it's really honestly the same thing, scratching my own itch, right? And so, when I travel, when I go to different cities, I want to connect with that city in the most authentic way. And I want to be where locals want to be, right? I want to be in a place that tells me something that's really true and authentic and genuine about where I'm at. And whenever I would travel to cities, whether it's New York or to the West Coast, to Portland, I would find these really, really cool boutique hotels. And that's what my wife and I, we just kind of gravitated towards. And when we would stay in these places and discover these cities, I just felt envious. Like, man, like when people come to the city that I love in Fort Worth, the city that I call home, I don't know that they're able to connect with the city in the same way. And so I said, I want people to be able to discover the city in a new way. And in a hotel is to me a really, really great way to not only connect with the community in much the same way that a barbershop allows you to do, but allows you to know where you are and see and get a good sense of where you are. And in our case, we wanted to do it through the eyes of locals.
So I'm sitting here listening to you, Jonathan, and one of the cool things that I hear is this sense of connection. And I think that we're kind of bouncing back like a rubber band. For years, we went big box. For years, we went franchise. For years, we went everything looking the same. The hotel rooms are the same. The carpets are the same. And now you're telling me a kind of a different vibe, a different story. Is that what we're seeing?
Absolutely. And Jeff, I think that big box, that brand that, in a lot of ways, kind of a plug and play cookie cutter environment is really ripe for a lot of customer base, right? Yeah. A lot of people, when they travel from city to city, they want to know what to expect and know exactly what that continental breakfast is going to look like in the morning.
And get the points. Sometimes you want the points,
Points, exactly. Yeah. But when I looked around, the city that I live in, I just did not see the lodging, the accommodation space that if I were a traveler coming to the city that I would want to connect with. And we had that big box, the big brand style of hotel existed. And I think that they're doing really, really well. But I just felt like there was a traveler that was coming to Fort Worth, Texas, that was just not being spoken to in a way that I think myself and a lot of locals want for people to be able to discover the city.
So when I got my show on Bloomberg, I walked into it. When I was a judge on Celebrity Apprentice, picked up the phone, so to speak. So how the hell did you get the call, the tap on the shoulder from Magnolia Network?
Man, it was, I was going about my business, running my small business, my barbershop here in town. And at the time we had just started the developing plans for the hotel just a couple of years ago, back in, I guess this was 2019. And a good friend of mine, Red Sanders, he has a production company here in Fort Worth called Red Productions. And they do commercial work. They've done a few feature films. And he calls me one day and says, "Hey, just met with the folks down in Waco at Magnolia, Chip and Joe from Fixer." Yep. I was like, "Yeah, I know who they are." It's hard to miss them, right? He said, they're starting this new network, and we've been, pitching them some different show ideas. And so it started actually with them showing, the production company showing the Magnolia folks this video that I created about my barbershop. Visit Fort Worth, which is our Convention and Visitors Bureau here in Fort Worth, had made this series of videos called Fort Worth Stories, where I just talked about, what it means to be an entrepreneur and what this little barbershop was looking to do in the city. And so Chip and Joe and their folks down in Magnolia saw that, and they liked what we were doing here in Fort Worth, and that got the ball rolling on what ultimately ended up being this show where I'm able to go around the country and hear the stories of other small business owners, their ups, their downs, the obstacles, and what it took for them to go from not just being an employee, but being self-employed and really building out their dreams.
So we talked a little bit about content, but the content got you the job. So what's it mean for small businesses right now? I keep telling everybody, I don't care if you're a dry cleaner, you're a big business. You should be in podcasting. You should be in something. You should be in podcasting. You should be doing content. That's the game right now, isn't it?
Man, people love story. People love narrative. People love when they can connect their own identities, their own self, their own needs to other people's stories, and that's all that we're doing is helping tell stories that hopefully are digestible and people can grab a hold on to and be inspired by, and ultimately getting away from so much of, I feel like in the past everything was marketing, where in sales, whereas now it's building brands, telling stories, so that people can identify with, whatever that product, whatever that service is in a human way.
So what's been the most impressive thing so far in the show about small businesses?
Man, I just walk away so inspired. I walk away inspired by all of these. So the thing that I love about the show is that we're not focused on like any particular industry. Even the size of the businesses is varied. We have some folks that have been working for themselves for decades, whereas we have some that are brand new and found success just recently. But for me, the thing that I love is like every single one of these episodes, like I've walked away inspired. It's been like, a lot of the times when we're talking to these entrepreneurs, we've had some very emotional moments. And I think that a lot of it is because for some of these entrepreneurs, none of these people, myself included, are actors. A lot of times it's the first time they've, even been in front of a camera in a crew, right? But we end up just having these really authentic conversations. And, we've had a lot of tears shed because I think for a lot of times it's the first time that they've really dug into the why behind their business. And it can be a emotional time. That's been surprising. I didn't know there would be as many tears in this season as there has been, but seeing the way these people have fought through adversity to chase down their dreams has been inspiring to me. And I get to come home and impart that inspiration into what I'm doing here in Fort Worth.
I think that's what makes one good TV, good content, is when it's real, it's genuine. I know when I've done my shows, I always invest myself in it. It sounds like you're doing the same thing.
Yeah, I'm just having these conversations and let the TV people edit them down and make them sexy, make them pretty. But we're just having real, raw conversations with people that are in it. They're in it, and a lot of sometimes up to their heads in it, but they've taken the leap of faith to jump out there and follow their hearts.
Let me ask you a question. Is there a theme you see from the interviews?
That it ain't easy. Yeah. It ain't easy for anybody.
If it was easy, everybody'd do it.
Everybody would do it.
Yeah.
Everybody would do it. One thing that I would say is a trend line that we're seeing is, every single person that we've talked to is run into people that have told them that their idea wouldn't work. They've hit roadblocks. And to a man and woman, every one of them has pushed through those. Naysayers, people that told them they couldn't do it. Everybody on this show has encountered a certain amount of risk in taking that leap of faith of going from being an employee to owning their own business. So that's been really cool to see. But some people are obviously more risk adverse than others. But all of these people that we're spending time with on the show have but put the necks out there.
Yeah. That's there in every business. You see these captains of no, these champions of no, who tell you all the time, naysayers, opportunists, obstructionists who get in the way. I call it running the gauntlet, which was my second book that I put out. So I know what that's like every day. You see that in corporate life. You see that in small business all the time too. It's fun to watch some of the shows and see people who relive that and talk about it. What else can you learn from the small business owners that's been really good for you? That you wrote it down and said, "Oh, I'm never forgetting this."
Hey, the thing that I think is important, I hope a lot of people take from the show, is that everybody's not an entrepreneur, right? There is a lot of glory and highlights that we see entrepreneurs present, and it's not for everyone. If you've got a dream, you've got an idea, I say chase it down, go for it. But the thing about entrepreneurship is, even if you're not an entrepreneur, you can support entrepreneurs, you can support small businesses, you can support that mom and pop restaurant or that coffee shop or that barber shop, that's in your city that, I think ultimately, and I'm biased, but is the fabric of communities. And so I hope that, one of the things that folks take from the show is, even if you're not necessarily cut out, or you don't want the anxiety and all the risk associated with being an entrepreneur yourself, supporting entrepreneurs. And, even just over this last, year and a half, 2 years, as we've, collectively been in this global pandemic that's affected all of our lives. I think that people are recognizing, maybe now more than ever, how important it is that we support small businesses.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, you got two businesses that were really affected. I mean, you were a barber shop where they were shutting you down, and then hotels where no one was traveling, dude. That was
tough. When we were building the hotel in the middle of construction, development continued, but it was very much just like, okay, once we opened up, what is the world going to look like? Because when we started construction, the world looked very, very different. But and then the barbershop, we were closed for 2 months, and in those 2 months, I had to tell my team, hey guys, I don't know when I'm going to have a job for you. It was the toughest times.
It's hard, man. I mean, I didn't lose an employee during the pandemic. I kept everyone employed, didn't get the handouts, didn't get any of the stuff. And I just said, somebody asked me the other day, Jonathan, what was the big thing I learned over last year? What was I most proud of for our company? I said, the fact that we did that. And that's tough, man, isn't it?
It's tough. It was tough, man. And the thing about it was, as we were all going through it, nobody had a playbook. Right. Yeah, nobody had a playbook on how to go about it. But, trying our best to, just take care of people as much as we can. And that's where, particularly with small businesses, we had to lean into each other like family during that time.
Well, and I tried my best. I know a lot of us did. It's to support the local guy. The big guys are going to make it. They're going to make it better. Without question. So I said, my wife and I, we're going to go to the local Brandon Steakhouse. We're going to order out from there every Friday. We're going to do those kind of things that we can do to make a difference. Hey, I understand. I know we're going to get a couple more minutes left, but I understand you're making playlists for your businesses. Are these playlists listed anywhere?
Oh yeah. All my playlists are on Spotify. The Hotel Dries, it's called Hotel Dries Lobby Vibes. I'm a big music fan. I love all sorts of music. And so I love helping create environment in spaces. So whenever you come to Hotel Dries in Fort Worth, Texas, and you hear the sound, just know that every single song has been hand selected and curated by myself.
Cool. Now, is there any country western in that thing?
We got a little bit, man. We got a little bit of country. We got a little bit of. You might hear some hip hop. You might hear some soul. You might hear some funk. You might hear a little country. You might hear some jazz. We got a little bit of everything.
Hey, what's the one thing you'd want to tell every entrepreneur if you had a chance to tell them?
Great question. I would tell an entrepreneur, if you have something that is burning in your heart and you cannot shake the itch of wanting to put that idea into the world, go for it. Go for it. Go for it. Not because everything's going to be a home run, but we've got one life to live, and getting these dreams out of our hearts and out of our heads, I think is imperative. If you don't, no one else will.
Well said. Well said. The only other piece of advice I had, no matter how much time you think it will take to get successful or how much money, you will need more. You will need more, right? Am I right?
Amen. Amen. I am a living testament of that one.
Every entrepreneur is a living testament of that. Hey, Jonathan Morris, thanks so much. Good luck with the season. We're going to see a season 2.
I hope so.
Let's hope so. All right. My pleasure. Good to have you here. Thanks you. We'll hopefully be able to talk to you again. I can't wait to tune in and watch you. I'm going to binge watch again. I got to do that.
Knock it out. Knock it all out.
That's right. All right, Jonathan, thanks so much for joining us right here on All Business with Jeffrey Hayzlett. Hey, at the end of every show, I like to talk about what I learned for the week. And I got to tell you, again, it's content. I don't care whether you're a dry cleaner or a big box store or whatever it might be, a big multinational. You need to be out there producing content because your advertising isn't getting seen like it used to. And the best way to do that is by producing more content. And of course, attract advertisers, may make some money on it. Anyway, that's what I learned. And then, Jonathan said that. Look, he got started by doing content, got his own TV show, which you got to imagine that's good for his business, or in this case, businesses. And that's what we learned right here on All Business with Jeffrey Hayzlett, right here on C-Suite Radio. Don't forget, tell your friends.
We're here with Kevin Harrington. He is the author of Mentor to Millions, Secrets of Success in Business, Relationships, and Beyond. Kevin, it's great to have you with us.
Hey, great to be here. Thanks for having me.
So first off, for anyone who's saying to themselves, I think I know that guy. How do I know that guy? You were one of the original sharks on Shark Tank. So exciting to have you.
Hey, thank you. I had a lot of fun filming all the segments and hanging out with all the sharks. It was a good run. Thank you.
Yeah. No, we missed you. I remember watching that initial, the show, the first season, and it was so new and fresh. So yeah, it was terrific. So well done on that.
Thank you.
But you have a whole other body of work. It's so funny. People see you on a show like that and they don't realize that's like such a small part of your portfolio, because when you start reading your books and what you've done, it's really incredible. Let's talk about the new book, Mentor to Millions. I have to say, Kevin, bravo on the title, because it seems, and maybe I'm wrong, but you tell me, kind of like the double meaning. When I said mentor to millions, I didn't know if that meant millions of dollars, millions of people, or both. So tell me about the title and put the book into words.
Yeah, it sort of does have a double meaning, I think. I mean, bottom line is that what we're really talking about in Mentor to Millions is that if you have a mentor in your business or life, it can help create exponential kind of effects for your business, which then can create millions of dollars in success for your business. But at the end of the day, so it's really about executing, getting mentors in your life, and creating exponential growth is really what that's all about. But at the end of the day, I go back 40 years as a serial entrepreneur, and one of the little groups of things that we got started in 1987. I was sitting around with Michael Dell and another gentleman, Ted Leonsis. If you know Ted, he owns the Washington Capitals and the Wizards down in Washington. He was a number 2 guy at AOL, Ted, but he had just sold his business to AOL, and we're like, hey, we should be able to help entrepreneurs. We started the Entrepreneurs Organization, and when you joined EO, and EO is today the world's most powerful entrepreneurial organization in 50 some countries, 150 cities. When you join EO, you get a team of mentors, and they call this the forum, and you have a monthly meeting with mentors. And so we said way back, entrepreneurs need mentors. I use mentors to help me grow my business. In fact, I have a situation where a mentor came in, helped me, and we 10x'd the size of my company, and we were already at 50 million a year in sales. So we went from 50 million to over 500 million from there. And I can start with that particular situation. It was about getting financing for our business to grow the business. And I had no skill set there. So once I got the team I say the team, it was one guy who then brought some other folks in. It was a game changer for me and the future of my company. So,
yeah. Well, sort of, you took the words out of my mouth. I mean, for such a successful person, we want to know about, when mentors came into your life. And you just said you attributed, the 10 times, the skyrocketing of that company to a mentor. So tell us about that. What exactly is the nugget that, in terms of what the mentor, how that mentor for you changed the game and why it's so important?
So, yeah, I'll go back and I say I had my first mentor. His name was Charlie when I was 11 years old. Now, that was my dad, okay?
Yeah, I read about that, yeah.
He said, hey, Kevin, you need to do this and you need to start a business. And so, I worked under his umbrella for a couple of years. Then I started a business in high school, started a business in college. But the one I was talking about before, I had grown my business. I was... Just a quick story how I got involved with As Seen on TV. It was the early 80s and I'm watching my cable and it was Discovery Channel and all of a sudden the screen went dark and I called the cable company and said, I'm not getting the signal. And they said, oh, it's off air. It's an 18-hour a day channel. It's a brand new channel. They don't have a budget for 24 hours. So we're going to be 6 hours of dead air. And so I cut a deal to start putting products in there. And this was the early 80s. We built that into a $50 million a year business. But I was strapped because I took every dollar of profit and put it back into inventory. Because when you ordered something, in those days, we actually even put it on the screen. We're going to deliver this in 6 to 8 weeks. Think about that. Now, can you imagine being on Amazon today and saying, hey, just wait about 8 weeks and it'll show up for you? I mean, that's how we did business because we had no money. And so I went to 5 banks to get lines of credit and without assets, no, I got turned down. I've reached out to my inner circle. I said, I need a mentor in the world of finance. And one of my guys brought me a retired bank president. He had just retired, but he wasn't done. He was 64 years old, had a lot of life left. He came in, he looked at my business. He got so excited and he said, Kevin, I know why you got turned down and I know how to get you the money. And I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'll get you a $3 million line of credit. I'm not going to charge you anything. It's my gift to you as a mentor. And then we can sit down and talk. And he did get me a $3 million line of credit. We did talk, but that gave us the power to 10x the size of the company. So people need mentors. I had no skill set for that.
Right. But when you say that, it sounds like there could be different capacities of mentors. This seems like a financial mentor.
Yeah.
For you.
Oh, yeah.
But would you say throughout your career, you've had financial mentors, personal mentors? I mean, do they run the gamut? What kind of, in the book, what kind of mentors are you talking about?
So I have, any more today, I have a mentor for speaking because you're going to, when I first started coming off Shark Tank, people are like, hey, Microsoft says, can you come speak? And I'm like, well, what do you want me to speak about? They're like, well, you got to figure that out, but we want you to motivate our executives, right? So I'm like, well, I need help here. So I have speaking mentors. I have personal finance mentors for personal investments. I have corporate folks there. I also have 2 full-time lawyers that now, one of them I consider a mentor because I don't pay him. Okay. All right. So there's different ways that you can look at it. But I believe that, unfortunately for me, as I was a younger entrepreneur, I hired the people that I could afford. And generally, because there was, profits, we were plugging back in and we're like, well, we can't really afford anybody really expensive. But I should have doubled down and got not the people that I could afford, but the people I needed. So mentors came in and helped me figure that out. And because I was a young entrepreneur I said, oh, why do I have to pay this guy $150,000 a year? That's way too much money. Of course, this is back in the 80s I'm talking about. But anyway, learned quite a bit along the way using great mentors.
It's so interesting you say that, because one of my questions was, there's a part of the book, it says, don't hire who you can afford. And I thought that was telling. You just kind of, touched upon it. So tell us a little bit about this book, though, because this is sort of the personal story. It's about you and a guy named Mark, right? Mark Tim, and kind of the evolution of your relationship. So that said, why was it so important for you to put this in writing, put this personal anecdote, this story? Because there are a lot of mentors in your life, but why this story? Why Mark?
Yeah. So Mark came to me, and I had another amazing mentor. Just to talk about some of the others, I had a couple-day visit with Richard Branson. Went down to his island at Necker Island and hung out and got some really unbelievable free advice, right? I mean, it was just me and Richard for hours sometimes. So anyway, one of my other mentors was Zig Ziglar, who I learned really a lot of selling techniques. So I'm a marketing and a sales guy, and so I love Zig. But Mark Tim was mentored by Zig Ziglar. When Zig passed away, Tom said, you guys need to meet, and Zig would have wanted this. And so we met. I started mentoring Mark, and Mark had built a $10 million business before and was very happy and sold it. And when I sat down with Mark, I said, why couldn't that have been a $100 million business? And he said, well, hey, let's talk about it. So we started going through it, and I've had 20 companies I've taken to over 100 million. And so Mark started hanging out with me, and he actually moved here for a month. And so not that I was with him every day, but we'd be flying to a conference for 6 hours somewhere. And he's like, oh, I could be on the plane, and getting some great advice. So make a long story short, Mark has bursted past the $10 million with new businesses, and he's on his way to 100 million. But he also, what was powerful about the mentoring that Mark and I were involved with was that he actually found that a lot of what we talked about helped his family life. And so it was not just a business thing for Mark. It became a very powerful family triumph, and I call it magical transformation. And so we felt it was a powerful story. And Mark and I wanted to tell that story.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of, as you read the book, it's life-changing, because Mark's sitting in his driveway, and he's coming off this euphoric day at the office, and he's heading into his house, and he's worried that euphoria is going to end. And it's just sort of this connection of why, and it should continue. So you guys talk about, leading your family like a business, but I mean, it does on the outset sound kind of cold, but why do you endorse that? I mean, why do you think that's so important, and why did it work for Mark? And
I can say this, it won't work for everybody, because not everybody, first of all, has the entrepreneurial mindsets, that guys like Mark and I have. But I actually implement some of these family entrepreneurial practices. I grew up in my dad's businesses. Then when my dad retired, he came to work for me. My younger brother came to work for me. Now I have two sons, one's 32 and one's 22. They both work for me. And now my wife's getting involved. So it's like the family side of this is something that once we figured it out, it made a lot more sense, because this is my second marriage. My first marriage didn't go well because I didn't really understand the aspects of family enough to include her into some of the things that I was doing. I had some great things happening for me, but she felt like it was just me and it wasn't us. So make a long story short, I think finding this path for Mark and I was really good, and it's helped his family, also my family, because Mark has really been a very powerful family man entrepreneur, as you saw from the book. So I think one of the things that I want to make sure that I do say is that why I chose Mark and his story is because when I started mentoring Mark, he actually, and this is one of the things he believes is very important as a mentee. If you're going to get a great mentor, make sure you are the mentor's best student. And so I found, because I've mentored tons and tons, thousands of people over the years, and some of them I would never want to be involved with ever again because they weren't good students and they were just looking for some great free advice and this and that, and I just felt used and abused sometimes, So Mark, though, totally the opposite. I felt like he really was absorbing it and utilizing it, that it was landing on very powerful ears in the process.
I guess for entrepreneurs out there who are saying, yes, light bulb, I need a mentor. How do you go about getting a mentor? I mean, in the book that you detail the story how you guys found each other, and it is kind of kismet. I'm not going to give it away, but it is kind of meant to be, and it seems like the universe got involved. But for someone who needs that mentorship and that guidance, how do you get a mentor such as yourself? Because you just said you've had tons and it didn't work out. How did they get to you?
Yeah. So I think the first thing, if you're in need of a mentor, first thing you have to do, we say, is raise your hand. Okay, so that you have to admit, I need a mentor. Now, it's because once you put it out into the universe, and I don't just mean, raise your hand, it's going to happen. There's things that you have to do from there. But once you acknowledge it, and now I say that you desire it and you believe it, now you must enthusiastically act upon that belief. Okay. And so that process, it takes many forms. You could just go on LinkedIn or Facebook or put some things out. But in the old days, I said something. I had a business and I needed help, but I had accountants that I was writing checks to, lawyers, media companies, phone centers, fulfillment companies, order processing, credit card process. I said, hey, if I can build my business, everyone I'm doing business with is going to rise with me. And so I reached out to my network. I say, who do you write checks to? And think about that, because you write checks to them. They value your business. They would like to do more business with you. If you sincerely reach out to people that you know and in business and say, like to your accountants, to your lawyers, I need a finance mentor. I need somebody that can help me get financed. And this is what I did. And from that came a retired bank executive. So raised my hand, I need a mentor, reached out to a bunch of people, but in today's world, you can also do a lot of other things. You've got the internet, you've got many digital ways to connect in with mentors, and there's a lot of meetup groups, there's lots of entrepreneurial groups online, there's EO that gives you mentors. There's also you guys know very well, Jeffrey and has a club, the CEO Club, and you go to the Board of Advisors Club or the Genius Network or the War Room by Roland Frazier. All these different organizations, clubs, networkings, etc. A lot of great ways to do it. Starts when you raise your hand.
No, absolutely. And I do wonder how, just the advent of the internet, millennials, all these tech companies, it's obvious it's a much different playing field than when you started. So obviously there's different paths to take. I always like to ask, Kevin, someone of your success, when you look back at your life and the things to come, but when you look back at how you started in the genesis of your career, is there anything you would have done differently? And I know you mentioned your first marriage didn't work, so you can't say that.
Right.
Professional or personal capacity that you've learned now, that the wisdom you'd want to impart onto others.
So I always, when I get asked that question, I generally say, it's worked out beautifully for me. Okay. So I'm very happy. I got a beautiful wife and beautiful kids and doing well, business and financial. So if you change something, things may have gone in a different direction. But having said that, I'll say this, that in my career as an as seen on TV guy, doing many of these, I call them gadgety kind of products, from Ginsu knives to Tony Little fitness products, the Gazelle and the Ab Isolator, the Jack LaLanne juicer, George Foreman, Billy Mays. These are gadgets. These are like, when you buy a Jack LaLanne juicer, you don't necessarily need a second one. You're not going to take one on a monthly basis. So what I'm really focused on today is more subscription revenue kinds of things. So if a one-off sale, it costs so much money sometimes to get a customer to buy something. But if you're done, then wait a minute, you spent all that time and money to get that customer, but I can't sell them anything else. Well, I like to have ongoing relationships with my customers. So I focus today on order value, lifetime value of the relationship, and increasing the amount of transactions you can do with customers.
Yeah, that's great advice to young entrepreneurs, maximizing longevity. So
yeah.
That wasn't kind of in the repertoire, when you the anecdote you just mentioned. So the book's terrific. So many great things. I have a gazillion questions. I guess to be continued. You'll have to write another book so we can talk more. Okay. But I mean, I will say this, there's a lot of, business acumen to be taken away, but how it goes into your personal lives. And it's nice to see that, the humanity thrown into it. So, So bravo, and we can't wait to see what's next, Kevin. So thanks again.
Well, it was great to be here, and I appreciate your time, and thanks for reading it. I can tell you're well schooled on the book. So thank you very much. It's nice to hang out with you today.
Yeah, likewise. It was an easy read, and we look forward to the next one.
Thank you.
And if you'd like more information on the book, just check out our website at c-suitebookclub.com, c-suitebookclub.com. I'm Taryn Winter-Brill. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time right here on Bestseller TV.
Welcome to C-Suite TV Insights. I'm Greg Greenberg. Kaylin Chase is a singer, songwriter, producer, multi-instrumentalist, internationally known rock star, and all he ever really wanted to do was cut down trees. Kaylin's here to talk about his Dash Lumberjack dreams and his upcoming musical plans. Welcome, Kaylin.
Hi there.
Well, it's great to have you. How did you go from lumberjack wannabe to heavy metal star?
Well, I have to say that I hate trees so much. No, I'm kidding. I lived in the country, and being a small man in a flannel shirt just did not work out for me. I'm not good at it. Fortunately, I was playing some guitar and singing, and that seemed to be the better path for somebody of my situation. So I opted to play music, and somehow my teenage angst led me to metal. And I screamed my way through that for a good 20 years.
All right, so who are some of your musical influences?
Funny thing is, I didn't listen to a lot of metal while I was playing it. I listened to Tom Waits, who has a beautiful gruff voice but tells a great story. Elliott Smith, probably the most metal band that I was really into was Typo Negative. They all had senses of humor. In the darkness, they were doing some of the most macabre, down-tuned feeling things, like Alone in Your Bedroom sadness. But somehow I think that, and I think everybody relates, that's what lifts you up sometimes. You just need to get through it. The only way through hell is through. So any depressing thing I could listen to, I grabbed, and I put a smile on my face while I did it and tried to have some fun with it.
All right, well, we'll talk about the depressing times in a second. The first thing I want to hear about is your first big break. How'd you break through?
The happy time. I was a recent graduate of my music college, Musicians Institute in Hollywood, California. I had a band that was doing well, Big Fish and Small Pond, and I was broke, as all musicians in their 20s are. And my brother, Nick, who worked at the same school, called me from the music business department and said, "Hey, you should try out for Korn to be a background vocalist." I hung up on him twice, but somehow he broke through my young idiot brain and got me prepared and helped me do the audition, and I got the gig. So I spent the next 2.5 years touring the world and playing in front of massive crowds and learning all of my lessons very quickly about how to be a professional. And I really appreciate Korn for letting me do that.
And then how did you manage your career after Korn? And how much control do you have over your own future?
I started out running the show all by myself, which is a good thing for creativity and a bad thing if you have any kind of ego, which is a 24-year-old you do. Fortunately, I've met a lot of great people, and I've always subscribed to the idea of mutual respect. Be on time, be professional, be courteous, try to make things better. And so I had so many wonderful people helping me as I transitioned out of Korn to doing my own stuff, keeping me steady with gigs. My music school, Musicians Institute, had me as a teacher. So I had a lot of management of my career until very recently when I realized I needed help. So thankfully, Crystal from Mind Our Music is now keeping me from doing something stupid in this beautiful time. So now I am allowing others better suited to manage my career, but I can't stress enough that just be respectful, be professional, and people will want to work with you.
And what has been the biggest challenge for you along the way? You hit some very high highs. I'm sure there's been some lows along the way. What's been the biggest challenge?
It all kind of started with the timing of things. Like we were nearly signed to a record label, my band, in 2008. I left Korn on good terms, and we had a record that was sounding amazing, and we were signed, and then the market crashed. So that kind of broke up the band. And I think that goes into the idea of, like, if you can't handle your lows, you're not going to be able to respect your highs. So we lost everything, and some people left, but I'm a cockroach, and I think perseverance is the key. Do not stop. If you care about what you're doing, don't stop. The hardest challenge is to keep doing that. Wake up every day and say, I'm going to keep going. No matter what's happening, I have no backup plan. This is what I do. This is who I am. So maintaining positivity is the hardest thing, I think, for anybody. And there's only one way to do it, and that's to just do it. Even if you don't believe it, fake it.
All right, and then finally, speaking of just doing it, what's next for Kalen Chase? What can we expect from you?
I am currently, right at this very moment, recording a brand new solo record, my very first one, that kind of the departure from the sounds that I've made before. Music videos are coming out, merchandise. I'm basically rebranding myself, just something hopefully more palatable, because I would like to hang out with all of you.
And we look forward to hanging out with you and listening to your new music. Thank you for coming on and talking about it. And thank you for watching C-Suite TV Insights. I'm Greg Greenberg.